Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Villa, No Filler. Please remember to like and subscribe. Subscribe if you love the mighty Villa, and if you don't, you support Birmingham City. Those are the rules. I didn't write them. They're just somewhere in the Google, Spotify rules and regulations. I've seen them somewhere. I can't remember where. Anyway, so Aston Villa, we went to the United States of America, and yeah, it didn't go very well, did it? Lost 4-1 to Columbus Crew, lost 2-0 to RB Leipzig, and had Diego Carlos foolishly sent off, and then lost to Club America, Mexico's Club America. Well, um, there's no real point. Look, I haven't. I'm doing this on my own, and I'm not having a guest on for it because it's just not. It's pre-season. It's not really that big a deal. You can't really read too much into things. Steven Gerrard had a decent pre-season, and then where things didn't go too well, did they? When we went to Bournemouth on the first day of the season and got absolutely destroyed. Um, so you can't really. I remember Tottenham Hotspur won every single game in pre-season under Martin Jol, and within 2 months they've been sacked because they lost every single game in the Premier League. After it. So look, you can't read too much into it, but every now and again there are some indications that something's a little bit awry or there's things to work on. I think if you could look at an example of where it has maybe been indicative of certain issues, you probably look back at Jose Mourinho's Chelsea after they'd won the Premier League, and I think it was 2015. That preseason they went to the US and they had a real bad time of it, and sort of thought, well, they'll sort themselves out, and then they actually didn't. Before long, he was on his way out too. So what I'm saying here is that in 2 months' time, Unai Emery is going to be leaving Aston Villa. No, of course I'm not saying that. Um, I think, look, as I say, you can't read into it. I think what we probably need to look a bit more at is the upcoming big games where I think we'll have likely Ollie Watkins, Emi Martinez, and Ezri Konsa back or on the bench. And in those two games, against Athletic and Dortmund, you'd think would probably have closer to what we'll see against West Ham in the first day of the Premier League season, playing for a prolonged period of time together to try and work up some, formula and get form an understanding. Um, at the moment, it just looks a little bit like there's a lot of players who, we're changing the team around a lot. There's a lot of players who just haven't really played together or that much over time. A lot of new players, and we're kind of figuring things out really, and figuring out who's going to stick around, who's going to go on loan, who's going to be sold, and who's going to be starting. And I think if I was to look at Aston Villa right now, and like I say, I'd rather have a guest on talking about this stuff. I don't want to just be a guy ranting down the camera or whatever on my own or on the audio or whatever. But I think, and I'm interested to know what you think. Comment on Spotify, Apple, comment on YouTube as well. I think when I look at Villa right now, just from my own perspective, I think from January onwards last season, there were indications that there were some vulnerabilities to aerial threats, set pieces. We conceded a lot. Games we'd kind of lose focus a bit, go from composed to casual. Teams would come back at us. We'd go 2-0 up, looking in control, but a team would just go for it and physically overawe us for a 10, 15-minute spell before we then, regained our composure. So I, 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 I kind of hope that in this preseason, a few of those things have been worked on. I compare it to Arsenal in the season where they almost won the Premier League 2 years ago now, or the season before last. And they lost their way because they kept conceding goals. They kept losing 2-0 leads. They went and fixed their defense. They became the best defense in the league last season. They've gone and strengthened that defense again. Now they have a lot of physicality, a lot of height in there. They got Jurriën Timber coming back from his ACL injury he got on the first day of last season. They've got Calafiori's just come in, left centre back, left back, can push up into midfield. Again, big, tall, physical guy. They got Saliba, Gabriel, tall, physical defenders. Declan Rice. It's quite there's quite an emphasis on physicality there. Man City have done the same thing, really, haven't they, with their players? There's a lot of emphasis on physicality as well as technique. I'm not saying that's what all teams need to do. The greatest team of all time is Barcelona. Guardiola's Barcelona. To my view, from what I watched them, I thought they were the greatest team I've ever seen in my life, and they weren't focused primarily on physicality. And I hope football doesn't become this thing again where it's like lots of talented, young players coming up through youth systems are seen as too small, because they weren't winning headers all the time at the age of 7 or 8. Um, Whereas actually they were skillful, but it was like, no, I can't hack it because we can't play on 11-a-side pitches at the age of 8. That's how ridiculous the youth system was for me growing up. Um, but no, I think with Villa, we have, Pau Torres, fantastic footballing defender. He's a lot stronger than I think we sometimes think. But you look at that defense at the moment, and you do think it just lacks a bit of aerial dominance. Ezri Konsa, strong defender, reads the ball well. He's an England defender now, top defender. Um, Tyron Mings, who knows when he's coming back? Mings is that vocal defender. And sometimes you just need that at the back. And I think sometimes Villa lack that a little bit. I think Contra and Torres, it's not their strength, is it? It's not where you see them at their best, taking that commanding lead and screaming and shouting. Sometimes you do just need a player who does that. And Tyron Mings is that. Who knows how he is? Who knows how he'll be when he comes back? We can't really just expect him to come back and be the same Mings immediately. It's going to take time for him to adapt. Um, Carlos, uh, some vulnerabilities with Carlos. I think he's had some brilliant games for Villa, not least the Man City and Arsenal game last season. But his distribution is not brilliant. His aerial dominance isn't great. On the ball, I don't love it. That's just my perspective. Everyone has different views, of course. I'm not saying what I'm saying is right. We all have different views, so you let me know what you think as well. Whether you think I'm slightly wrong about things, let me know. But it does just feel like you look at Villa and look at that right centre back area and the right back area, and you think, oh, could there just be a little bit more? Could there be a physical presence there? Could there be somebody who wins few more aerial duels? Could there be somebody who maybe when Villa get a little bit too casual and teams come back at us, just puts in a big heavy challenge and wins a header and screams at everyone and everyone wakes up? You do wonder that. And, we've had Torres and Carlos as our centre backs in pre-season, primarily as our sort of lead. Constance obviously on his way back from playing for England. But we then played Luca Dean and Dendoncker at centre back. It does look like an area that Villa still need to sort out. We've been linked to Mario Hermoso, who would come in at left centre back and left back. But it just feels like we need something else there, doesn't it? At the moment, it just feels like it. Even watching preseason, and as I say, I think the Athletic and Dortmund games will be more indicative of where Villa might be. We really won't know until we get to the West Ham game, but it just feels like an area that I'd love to see Villa just an Ornstein tweet saying Villa have agreed to deal with XYZ, and they've come in, they win a header, they scream and shout, they're good on the ball. Easier to say all this, harder to find it. But that's it's what Monchi's paid the big bucks for. So I think that's an area I'd like to see Villa hopefully sort out in the next week or two, because it does just feel a little bit like we're light. Otherwise, it's going to take, it just is going to take time for all these players to bed in. A lot of them are young, early 20s. The reason for that is the resale value. We can't repeat what we did in the Purslow Gerrard era, which, buying players later in the day, in their late 20s, early 30s, who have peaked or at their peak, have very little resale value and are on big, big wages on long contracts. PSR wise, hasn't worked out great for us. We're having to operate in a different way with players that have that resale value and can be improved. And I think with a lot of these players, it is a big transitional period for Villa, and it's a growing period for these players. And I think we might just have to be patient. This is not me being negative. It's not me talking Villa down. I'm very excited about where Aston Villa are going. Extremely excited, but I think we might just have to be a bit patient with how a lot of these young players adapt, how they learn to play together, and over time it will work because these players have loads of quality. This is an excellent squad, though I think there's still vulnerabilities and places we can improve. Overall, there's still some great players in there and a lot of experience as well with players who've got us to the Champions League. But there is just going to be a transitional period. We've lost Douglas Luiz, who was a crucial midfielder for us over the years. That's going to be an adaptation. Moussa Diaby's gone. That's going to be an adaptation. Um, so I expect there will be more incomings in the next few weeks. But again, with those incomings, it's going to take time for it all to click together. So, um, you know, I just think currently seeing us even just in preseason, just thinking, all right, it doesn't look like it's quite clicking yet. Fine, can't read too much into it. But the next few games, I think we'll be a bit more aware of where Villa are. Anana looks like a great signing. So much physicality, that aerial dominance that we've needed, but also he's very good on the ball. I think over time he might become a more progressive player than we've seen throughout his career. So far, he's been much more defensive, hasn't he? Baranacher, I think, looks a technically really lovely player, and I think he's one that I'm really going to keep an eye on. I expect he'll start on the bench at the start of the season, but he'll start to make appearances. And the more he plays, I bet we start to see there's a little bit of a cult hero in there. Someone who's just tidy, good on the ball, can spread the play really well. Great experience with Juventus and Frosinone as well. So he's an interesting one to watch. Nedeljkovic. Now, I keep saying this about this guy. He's 18. He's got Champions League experience. Played Manchester City. Played for the top team in Serbia and Red Star. So great experience already for his age. His profile's really good. He's big, tall, he's physically super quick. Get him forward. He loves it. And there were one or two really nice little moments between him and Jaden Philogene yesterday against Club America, where they had a very natural understanding of each other's game, and they've never played together before. And what Costa likes to do, he likes to overlap and he likes to underlap. He's a very modern fullback in that sense. He loves to get forward. And if you watch videos of him, his final distribution, his balls into the area, crossing wise, he's very good. Another player I really think we should keep an eye on. I don't think he'll start the season. Maybe he goes on loan. Who knows? I don't think he will, but maybe he will. But I think the season starts to cash at right back, the experience. Don't be surprised at all if Costa comes in, has a few games. Actually, looks really good. And there's been a couple of occasions where the ball's come over the top of him, and he's sort of struggled to deal with it a little bit. But there were one or two occasions against Club America where the high line got beat. His recovery speed was excellent. He's really quick. He got back very, very quickly. So to have a player who has those ingredients, someone who can get back very quickly if the high line is broken, somebody who really loves to get forward and is good at his first touch is good. He gets away from players well. Is physical, very quick. I can totally see, I think, what Monchi and the scouting department saw when they signed him from Red Star. I just think there's a few positive signs with him. Like I say, it is going to take time for these players to adapt, though. And otherwise, Cameron Archer played up front. He scored our only goal in the US. It was a good goal as well against Columbus Crew. But last night against Club America, quite a lot sort of broke down with him. It just wasn't quite clicking, was it? Just gets him and he just been not in the right spot, or his layoff would not quite work. Again, we've got to be patient with him. I think he's a bit of a fox in the box player. I think he's somebody who comes on for 20 minutes and poaches your goals. That's probably his strongest suit. But John Duran, well, he's not been in preseason. He's caused a lot of controversy. A lot of people want to see him gone. He's not gone. No one's bid what we want. And if he ain't going, he's going to have to be reintegrated and he's going to have to earn trust back. he's a top quality player, talent, or has the potential to be one. He isn't there yet. He's not better than Watkins, and few in the world are better than Watkins. But he's certainly a player who can make massive contributions to Villa if he has the right bloody attitude. And that's it. Simple as that. Just get on with it. Playing with the Champions League team, playing with the best managers in the world. Enjoy it. So look, maybe he comes back and that's it, and he is back. But yeah, Joao Felix as well, that seems to still be moving, so we'll see how that develops. Yes, I think you can't read too much into the Club America loss or the US tour. It was more just about fitness, but it does just feel like you can see the patterns at the moment aren't quite there. They might start coming together a bit more against Athletic and Dortmund, and then hopefully over time it might not be an immediate blast of brilliance from Villa, but it will just take a bit of time for us to work those rhythms and become, the level of club, the level of team at least that we actually are. It's just going to have to be patient. But let me know what you think. Let me know. I don't know. What you thought of the US tour. What you think about the upcoming season? What you think? If you thought I just talked a load of rubbish, let me know. Please like and subscribe. If you give us 5-star reviews on Spotify, Apple, if you like what we do, I cannot express enough how much it helps. It really does. And just writing a nice review maybe on iTunes or something like that. It just helps massively keep this podcast and channel growing and growing and growing because we just love doing this. This real passion project of mine. Because I just love talking Villa. I really do. And yes, like I say, this is a bit of a one-off because I just don't see the point in having a guest on for to talk about the US tour. It's just not really worth it. But thought it'd be worth doing a little update on it. And I've also written a new piece for the All Villa No Filler website, allvillanofiller.com. It's about Unai Emery. I'll post a link on the YouTube channel, just down below in the description. And yeah, it's basically I wanted to write about how much Unai Emery's done an amazing job at Aston Villa since he came here, but I ended up writing loads and loads and loads also about what it was like to support Aston Villa from the early 90s right up until this moment right now. And how Villa were kind of a nearly team or a team that massively underachieved or kind of disgraced themselves in the last 10 years. And then Unai Emery turned up and, he was that very special manager that we've long looked for. So yeah, check that out and let me know what you think about that as well. Really appreciate it. Anyway, I've blundered on long enough. Please like and subscribe. Up the mighty Villa.